ice safety. What can you do just walking up upon the ice to try and determine whether it's basically safe? If you're not accessing the website, you decide to not engage that as a tool or a resource, what can you do just walking up upon the ice to try and determine whether it's basically safe or not? The only real practical way is to evaluate it visually and then to load test it. If you don't have a tool like this, some type of long handle tool that you can kind of poke and prod and put some pressure on the ice, you're basically relying on putting your own body weight in different positions on the ice to see how it responds and reacts. If you don't have a fancy dancy suit like me, you got to be prepared for the fact that if the ice gives way, the likelihood of you ending up in the water is radically realistic, and that's not any position you ever want to be in without a thermal barrier and a protection suit like this. So if you got a tool, as you're approaching the bank, understand that the ice closest to the bank is oftentimes going to be your weakest ice or your least formed ice. That's your shallowest depth, and based on how the sun comes up and what the sun does, it's going to radiate heat through the Earth's surface and through that shallow area back up to the back side of the ice. So those edge areas are a lot of places where you'll get percolating water, very, very thin ice, ice that breaks away. But as you navigate a little bit further out, the ice can in fact actually thicken and become more reliable as you progress. So if I was just coming up here to pro, I want to get some good hits, some good contact points on this ice. Or see right there, I just punched through right there. So there I am, into the muck, into the mud, into the mess. Now I've already cut a hole in this sheet of ice, so all this stuff that I'm breaking away here at the edge, I can tell you out in the middle of this pond, I've got about 8 to 9 inches of ice. So this is that radiant heat thing we're talking about, where the Earth is just bouncing heat back up here. Now as I start navigating out, you see how much more solid this ice is getting as I progress. This is where ice can be deceiving if you're not using a good striking tool like this. You can see that right here on this edge, I'm standing on this edge just fine. But when I point loaded it with just something a little bit significant, it immediately starts breaking through. This is a load distribution issue. So when we go out on the ice, my foot is taking all that force of my body and spreading it out over that ice surface. So it's allowing this thin sheet of ice to support me much better than putting that same amount of weight on the point or the tip of this tool, which will then load right through there and break right through that ice. We take this same concept and we make it much bigger when we're actually working across the ice. So I don't want to just walk across the ice. Number one is putting 2 point loads on the ice that are the size of my feet. Number two, if I slip, this is an unbalanced load and the likelihood of me falling, hurting an elbow, fracturing a wrist, or striking my head on the ice is really, really high. So my first best option is I'm kind of working around this ice and figuring things out, is to get in a good 3-point stance and use this same tool application I have and reach out in front of me. If you find yourself just coming upon this pond and you don't have all this stuff, something as simple as a branch just laying along here along the side of the pond is better than nothing. So having that out in front of you to load, sweep, and kind of evaluate that ice in front of you is going to be a good impact tool. By bringing my knee, my foot, and my sole into play here, I'm now kind of spreading out my load over 3 points of contact instead of 2, which is going to produce less point loads and make my overall load on this ice more dispersed and help the ice carry my weight a little bit better. If I find as I'm working across here that I'm getting a little bit of crackling, the ice is going to make noises. So if you are starting to fracture the ice, you're going to hear it. If you're encapsulated like me and you are intentionally going out across the ice to do something life safety based, then we'll oftentimes switch gears and go right to our bellies. You can see based on that load distribution concept, now I'm really distributing my mass. I don't have any point loads anywhere on the ice, and now I can work across the ice surface and make sure that my load is really distributed and I'm not putting any point loads on there. So this is best for load distribution. Moderate for load distribution, but still a good safe position and very mobile. This is least desirable.